This is Reset. I'm Sasha-Ann Simons. Is more really merrier? Last week, we asked you to call us with your stories of living in multi-generational homes. From a logical perspective, it can make sense financially. The cost of living isn't as much of a burden when there are other incomes in the house. But more than that, it can help provide something a lot of families yearn for: the ability to care for elderly parents, to raise children in supportive environments, and even the chance to pass down long-standing family traditions. According to Pew Research, about 1 in 4 adults ages 25 to 34 now live in a multi-generational home. That's a household with 2 or more adult generations. So today we've invited 3 Chicagoans to share their stories of living in a multi-generational home. Sol Flores lives on the South Side, Dennis Frank in West Ridge, and Mary Jewers in Irving Park. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you all.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy Monday. All right, all 3 of you currently live in multi-generational homes and also lived this way as kids or young adults. So before I ask you about each of your experiences and what things looked like then versus now, I just want you to name the main thing that you think has kept you living multi-generationally. You first, Mary.
I would say love. Being able to be right there, seeing each and every family member grow and be a family, really hands-on, it's what it's all about, and always honoring our elders. That really is what brought us all together in the first place.
Sol?
Yeah, beautifully said, Mary. I agree. And I think the ability to capture tradition and keep it ongoing for my daughter and my niece has really kept me there, along with the idea that I'm at some point in my life going to have a lot of time to live alone. So why not live with a lot of other people
Surrounded.
and keep it fun?
Nice. What about you, Dennis?
I would say love too, but also, for me, it was a sense of identity because I grew up on the West Coast with my mother, and I moved here in the 80s and started to live with my father and grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in late, and because of that, I got to know that side of the family and really delve into
Hear those stories.
yeah. Just a Chicago experience.
We'll dig more into that in a moment. Sol, first, I want you to tell us who you're currently living with and why you have structured your home life this way.
Yeah. So I currently live with my parents, my daughter, my niece, and my sister.
Oh my
and there's
gosh.
a cat and a dog involved as well.
That sounds amazing to me.
Yes. Well.
It brings a big smile to my face. So how is that? What's the day-to-day like? Are you fighting for the bathroom? Is it
No, so we are like the Puerto Rican Jeffersons here. We have moved on up to a beautiful home on the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
In 2019, I chose to be a single mother by choice and asked my family if they would live with me to help support raising my daughter. And they said yes. And so we went house hunting and found a beautiful, affordable home in Bronzeville, and we lived together. And I mean, here it is. Ready? We all have our own bathrooms.
Oh,
we are
wow.
the luckiest human beings in Chicago.
It sounds like a dream. Mary, who are you currently living with, and what continues to feel like it's really working for you all?
I currently live with my mom, and my brother-in-law and sister live upstairs with a co-joined backyard to my other sister, her 3 children, and her husband.
Oh my goodness.
So the way the universe worked it out was that we have all of us together, and the way it works out is just eyes on my mom.
Yes.
That was my focus when I moved back to the family home. Was that I knew the day would come that my mom would need more care. And having been able to raise my children, and then I was on my own, apartment came available, and I'm pretty much in my mom's apartment all day, running up and down and helping. And it really gives me a sense of comfort, and my siblings as well, that we know she's being cared for.
Yes, absolutely. She's right there, right?
Yep.
Dennis, I want you to tell us about who you live with currently and what keeps you feeling like this is the right situation for your family.
I live with my wife and son on the 2nd floor, and my dad is on the 1st floor, and that's it.
Yeah.
He snowbirds, so
he's gone half
he's
the
gone
year.
half the year, yeah.
But
And
you've also got eyes on him when he's here.
absolutely, and he's doing pretty good at 88. He gets around pretty well, so.
Let's stay with you, Dennis. You've already alluded to this. You've lived intergenerationally at two periods in your life. So back in the 80s, this was, as you said, with your dad and grandfather, and now it's just with your dad. Go back to the 80s for me and talk about what was going on in your life at the time and what memories maybe stand out from living like that back then.
Well, I moved back to go to college. I had a kind of a roommate situation set up, and when I was picked up at the airport, my dad says, "Well, you don't want to do that. I've got this basement that I'm rehabbing," and I did the obligatory college student in the basement thing for about 5 years. But
Right.
it was fantastic. I was with my grandfather a lot at that time, and it was just a lovely time to really get to know that side of the family. And, the heritage stuff. And, to this day, I'm kind of playing around with Ancestry.com and figuring in the whole...
What else can I learn?
Yeah, exactly.
You're
So
going down a rabbit hole now.
I did not really have that in my life before that. So it began when I was 25. It was fantastic. And they took a great care, innately, I would say, or in terms of just keeping the character of the building authentic. My father was very gifted at antiquing furniture, and he painted murals on walls.
Wow.
So the two of them really worked on this house all through their
Sounds
lives.
very harmonious.
Very much so.
Yeah. So you told us growing up in a building with your parents and grandparents deeply informed your decision to buy a building and continue to live with your parents and your sister today. So talk more about your childhood and maybe give us a memory that sticks out for you that just illustrates how important it was for you to grow up this way.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up with my grandparents and aunts and uncles and my mother. And cousins. We all lived in this one building. And so a memory for me, Sasha, was holidays, and specifically Christmas.
Okay.
Is like the thing.
I bet you got lots of gifts.
Well, we got lots of love.
Yes.
And
That's
gifts.
even better.
Yes. But that all of us would make our way to the third floor rear apartment, which was my grandparents. And this is where the traditional Puerto Rican dinner was made. The kids would run around. And then what's a tradition in our culture is to wait until midnight. So you torture children to wait until midnight. And then when midnight arrives, we say a prayer. They made us do a little dance. And then we got to finally open up presents.
Midnight on Christmas Eve.
Yes, midnight. Yes,
Yeah,
Christmas
okay.
Eve. Yeah, Noche Buena for us. And so I think about that and how much fun it was to be with my people. And then years later, as I have my own child and my family is smaller, my cousins had less kids, I didn't marry, I thought, how can I recreate the same thing for my daughter, Amadi? And
That's
so
wonderful.
as I got pregnant, I asked my family, I convinced them, and they said yes. And
How
so we've had a couple
wonderful.
of Christmases already.
Yeah, how wonderful that they were all on board with this idea. That just shows, going back to Mary's point, the love and the support.
And a lot of pressure. And a promise of your own bathroom.
You sent a few emails. Mary, you've been living in a multi-unit building for decades now. So have you been living with your family your whole life?
No, I haven't. I grew up in a family building with my grandparents that came from Greece, and there was 14 of us in a 3-flat, and it was very similar to your situation, so where it's first cousins, auntie, and then one bathroom for the 5 of us, all pretty nuts, all very similar to what you were speaking about holidays. But as a child, we were so ingrained in the Greek culture because that's who was on the first floor. And so we shared meals, we learned traditions, and we only spoke English. And so to this day, I'm a little sad that we didn't have the foresight to learn Greek. And my grandparents were so proud that they even told me when I got older, I said, why don't I know any Greek? And they said, we needed to learn English. And we're Americans now. And so I see that now when I see other families living this way, I always say, please learn both languages. Don't shortchange yourself.
What do you feel like you're losing out on?
I'd like to travel to Greece. I don't know. I don't speak Greek. I've met Greek friends, and the elders always spoke Greek at our picnics. The youngers didn't. And so for us, I felt shortchanged that
You can't communicate
I
in the
can't
same
communicate. And
Yeah.
they've all passed. But yet I have some Greek friends, and going to Greece, it just seems silly that I can't speak the language. But it goes back to my grandfather telling me, he said, I'm American, I'm proud, I need to learn English.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, this is Reset. I'm Sasha-Ann Simons, and we're digging into the way that intergenerational housing keeps families connected and traditions alive. Our guests are Chicagoans Sol Flores, who's living in Bronzeville, Dennis Frank of West Ridge, and Mary Jewers of Irving Park. Sol, back to you. A lot of people, and I teased you earlier, but, a lot of people may think that for them, doing what you're doing, living with multiple adult generations in the house, we're going to all be at each other's throats. There's no way we can get through this. I mean, are there ups and downs to this dynamic?
Absolutely. There's lots of ups and downs. I'll tell you, one of the ups is, Sasha, my mother, right, was the matriarch of her home for 35 years. And so there's been this tension of she moved into a house that I purchased. And so there's a little bit of like, is this your house? Is this our house? Is this my house? Do I get to hang things up? Can I put all the junk I want in the backyard? Do I have to ask for permission?
That can be a little tricky.
That's right. That's right. So there's a tension of it. I've really been through a lot of therapy and meditation. And I tease when I say this, but I really like to just give it up because I know one day she won't be here, right? And I won't have the experience of being with her and having all that she offers in my life, love, companionship, mentorship,
Yes.
etc.
Yeah. What's been a challenge for you over the years, Dennis?
I don't think there has been too many challenges.
Really?
I mean, my dad is very handy, or has been handy, and he's taught me.
Is it the snowbird factor? The fact that he's gone for half the year?
When he comes back, though, there's a lot of projects to be done around the place, and so that's kind of fun. We kind of collaborate on those. Not all of them we do, and whatever we can't figure out, I go to YouTube. So, I've learned a lot from him in terms of being handy. And my wife is extremely handy, so we're in good shape there.
So people say, if folks want to live this way, they must be really good at conflict resolution. Would you say yes to that, Dennis?
Yeah, I just nod your head and agree.
Yeah, I say you have to get off of it faster. You do. Like, you can't let a grudge sit because you're going to see them in 15 minutes.
For sure. Dinner gets very uncomfortable.
That's right.
Mary, we had the opportunity to speak with your nephew, Cesario, and we want to play a clip from him. Here's his answer when asked about the challenges that he experienced of being a young person growing up surrounded by family. Brace yourself.
I think high school was the challenge, mainly because there's no privacy. Somebody's always around. There's no way to get out of something. If you mess up, everyone knows. If you're making a lot of noise, you're not just bothering a roommate, or you're not just bothering another renter. You're bothering your grandma.
So Cesario brings up an interesting point there, I think, Mary. I mean, has privacy felt like an issue for you?
Yes, it did in the beginning. When I moved in, it was 10 years ago. I was 50. I was used to living on my own. I was not used to the daily, what are you doing, where are you going, what time you're coming back. Just the friendliness of living in a building means people have eyes on you. And I would say for the first 2 years, I quietly bristled at the lack of privacy, even though I knew I would adjust. But I was surprised it took me that long.
Yeah.
And I think I just outed myself. I don't think anyone knew that. But I do understand about my nieces and nephews. We had to learn, the aunties had to learn that they're going through their teen years and so on. And we really had to learn how to honor their privacy because we didn't. Sorry, Cesario. But we had to learn how to keep our space and our own identity at the same time being family.
And it's not easy. I mean, I'm a
wasn't
mom
easy.
of 2 teens
Wasn't
right
easy.
now, and that's not easy. I mean,
No.
just trying to be mindful of, I'm looking for something around the house. Perhaps it's in my daughter's room. Can I just step in and start digging through stuff? Or does she have the right at 17 to be like, don't open my drawers? Or, but I bought those drawers.
Yes.
We kind of have that dynamic. It's a little different. Yeah. Sol, what do you think? Privacy? an issue?
Not for me, but I agree with Mary. I mean, I live with a 16-year-old, and she feels like she has two moms, a grandmother, the grandfather. Everyone's eyes on her. And I also think that she will reflect in her 20s and 30s and be like, I feel so fortunate that all these people were looking out for me. But yeah. I mean, I think you also have to like set it up in a way that's like, okay, my bedroom is my kind of quiet, safe space, and we're respectful of that. And the family room is kind of, anyone can go, anything can happen in the family room, but sort of in the front room is more of a sanctuary and quiet space.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. And Dennis, you've talked much about this already, being your own landlord and also caring for the building collectively as a family. That's a big part of this style of home ownership. So talk more about like what that was like for you all. Like, how did taking care of the building play into family dynamics? I know you said your dad was pretty handy, so that's helpful.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think, it's just, it's a day-to-day thing. I don't know really what to say. I think.
So when he's away and projects pile up, as you mentioned, how do you handle that?
Most of it's all texting and email and all that stuff. So, but we try to get what we need to do done without bothering him as much as we can.
Yeah.
But he's on top of it. I mean, he's Hawkeyes all over the building.
That's
so
awesome.
So.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Mary, since you live with many family members, I mean, how do you all approach the care of the property itself?
Okay, so I pretty much have my little job as my mom, kind of being eyes on her. We have little jobs given to my sister to like sweep the back stairs, shoveling, and the lawn are done by my nephews.
Okay.
So it's a very clear. It's very clear who does what, and my brother-in-law and his children have been fantastic landlords because they don't require anything of us.
That's great.
And in fact, they gave me a garden this year, so I got to do my own garden. So
that's awesome.
The landlord, they really do take the landlord position, and the rest of us just kind of basic.
You get to live and just help out,
Absolutely.
do your part. Sol, pretty similar?
Yeah, so my mother is an amazing cook, and that is her job, and sometimes she embraces it, and sometimes she demands that we order Grubhub. So it's a mix of both. And then I found that, like, over time as they're aging, I'm also like, you don't have to do as much. We can hire someone to help mow the lawn. We can hire someone to help shovel. As my niece has gotten stronger and taller at 16, I'm like, you would be great doing this. You would be great shoveling and babysitting. So I think it's a mix of pulling back on some of the chores from my aging parents and then revving up for that teenager.
So caring for the elder generation is definitely a through line for all of you. We've got another clip of Cesario, and here he talks about the give and take of care between him and elders and how that sort of makes living intergenerationally so important to him.
The multi-generational household was really full of so much wisdom and love and perspectives. And it was just a beautiful way of caring for each other. Like, I think at a young age, I felt cared for and also felt like I could care for people, even in small ways, like holding my grandma's hand when I was like 8, and we were walking down the stairs. It felt like it broke down age differences, I think, in a way that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
So special. I want to hear from each of you about that. Just as your parents age, the importance of being in the same living space as the parent that you're caring for. Dennis, you want to go first?
So I'm kind of seeing this through the eyes of my son, and I could see where, having almost grown up completely in that building, how wonderful that would be. So,
You're providing the same thing for him, right? You're keeping it going.
Yeah, and I would hope that he would want to live there himself throughout, down the line,
Sol, what's it like for you being so close to mom and just watching her grow?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm taken aback at moments when I'm like, oh, she's aging, right? I mean, you have your mother as like this huge figure, and they're always so strong and capable. And now I'm seeing, you know, the slow down, all the doctor's visits. So one is I like that I can be there, that I can help be an advocate, that I can help follow up on certain things. And then I love that every night as I take my daughter upstairs to go to sleep, I say, you know, go give your abuela, you know, a beso and abrazo. And the same thing for your abuela.
Yeah.
And it like lights them up, Sasha,
Yeah.
right? Like they'll be laying on the couch or in bed or kind of doing something, and, you know, they get out of bed, or my grandfather gets on his knees and gets to her level, and they get to hug and kiss.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, and I know what that's doing for her emotional stability and awareness, and for my own, right? That I got to give this and receive it in my life.
Oh, sounds so wonderful. Mary.
Oh man, it's such a win-win. Cesario hit on the wisdom factor, and really living with my mom means I get to see her on the daily, just living her life, showing me who she is through all the trials and tribulations and everything. And I have learned more in just watching my mom. And sure, I get the conversation, which is priceless, but watching my mom has been a gift that I will forever treasure. And as I care for her in things that she can't do because of her aging, she gives me back so much in her love.
Yeah.
She still cooks meals for me. It's ridiculous.
That's the best part.
She's there for me as a friend, as a mother. It is just an honor to walk along her side and help her now as she helped me as a child and a young adult.
I'll tell you, I hope to be able to do the same for my mom and dad. I actually look forward to the day where I can do the same. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your stories. We've been talking with Chicagoans Dennis Frank, Mary Jewers, and Sol Flores about intergenerational housing. Now, if you also are someone who grew up or currently are living in a building or home multi-generationally, we would love to hear your experience. Drop us a line at reset@wbez.org or leave us a voice message at 888-915-9945. Thank you all so much for coming in today.
Thank
you
you.
so
Sharing your
much.
stories. And that is it for Reset. We've got a twice weekly newsletter. It hits your inbox every Monday and Friday, and it's a great way to keep up on the latest from Reset and WBEZ. So sign up for that at wbez.org/resetnews. Tomorrow on the show, we'll hear from local Jewish and Muslim leaders about what life has been like for their Chicago area communities over the past year. I'm Sasha-Ann Simons. Thanks for listening today. Have a good one, and we'll meet again tomorrow.